Hello, and welcome to the CircuitPython Weekly for December 7th, 2020. This is the time of the week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. I'm Katney, and I, along with some other folks in this chat, are sponsored to work on CircuitPython by Adafruit. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to support them and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython text channel and the CircuitPython voice channel. This meeting typically happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, except when it coincides with a US holiday. If the time for the meeting is changed, we will notify you via Discord. If you wish to be notified about changes to the meeting, we can add you to the CircuitPythonistas Discord role. There is also a calendar available that we try to keep updated if you'd like to subscribe to that. This meeting is recorded. We record audio from the voice channel and video from the text channel. If you would rather not have your voice recorded, you are still welcome to participate. The video of this meeting will be posted to YouTube and the audio is released as a podcast. If you find the podcast is not available on your favorite podcast service, please let us know. There is a notes doc to accompany the meeting and recording. If you wish to participate but you don't have a microphone or you'd rather not have your voice recorded, you can add your updates to the notes doc and we'll read them off as we get to you. As well, if you wish to participate but you can't make it to the meeting, you can leave hug reports and status updates in the document and we'll read them off during the meeting. The notes document also contains timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use the doc to skip around in the video to parts that interest you most. If you're just listening in, please let us know that you're lurking and we'll skip over you. If possible, please add your name to the notes doc with lurking after it. Otherwise, let us know in the text channel so that we can get the notes doc updated. It's important that your status be in the notes doc because that's what we use when we go through the list during the meeting. If you wish to speak during the meeting, you will need to be added to the CircuitPythonistas role on Discord. Please ask anyone in the meeting who's an admin or moderator to add you to the role if you're not already a member. If you don't want to be added to the role, you can still participate as text only. Simply let us know. This meeting is held in 5 parts. The first part is community news, which is a look at all things CircuitPython and Python on hardware in the community. It's a preview of our Python on microcontrollers newsletter. The second part is the state of CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. This is a statistical overview of the entire project. It's a chance to look at the project by the numbers and gives us an idea of the health of the project separate from what we're all up to. The third part is hug reports. Hug reports is an opportunity to highlight the good things folks are doing, taking the time to recognize awesome folks in our community. This section is held as a round robin, the first of 2, where we'll begin with the person who is hosting, so I will start, and then I'll go through the list alphabetically, looping back to the top to give everyone who wants to a chance to participate. If you're lurking, I'll skip over you. If you're text only or missing the meeting, I'll read your notes off when I get to you in the list. The fourth part is status updates. Status updates is an opportunity to sync up on what we've been up to. Take a couple minutes and talk about what you've been doing since the last meeting and what you're going to be up to until the next meeting. It's also an opportunity for folks to provide tips and tricks in response to other status updates. This section is also held as a round robin to give everyone a chance to participate. Again, if you're lurking, we'll skip over you, and if you're text only or missing the meeting and have notes in the doc, I'll read them off when we get to you. The fifth part is In the Weeds. In the Weeds is an opportunity for more long-form discussions. These discussions can come out of status updates or be something you've identified ahead of time is too long for status updates. If you have an In the Weeds topic now, please add it to the notes doc along with your name in the In the Weeds section at the end of the document. If you think of them during the meeting, please add them as you come up with them. Basically, the point is we're trying to not wait towards the end of the meeting to see if anyone has topics. When we get to In the Weeds, we'll turn it over to whomever added the topic to begin the discussion. If you're text only, please make a note of it so I can read it off. And that covers how the meeting will go. So first up is community news. So the first thing we have is low power support is available on the ESP32S2 in CircuitPython. It's come in the form of low power modes for the ESP32S2 chip. Other tips will follow shortly if they're hardware capable. The details are in pull request 3767, which was merged last week into the nightly builds of CircuitPython for the ESP32S2. While normally the recommendation would be to use 6.1.0 beta 2, the absolute newest on S3, which is an available option on circuitpython.org/downloads, is recommended for the ESP32 S2. On Sunday, the Desk of Lady Ada went over deep sleep testing for ESP32 S2 and the new S2 FH4 chip. You can see how the Nordic Profiler kit helps determine the power draw on sleeping boards. We've had another Adafruit Discord server milestone. We've reached 26,000 members. Adafruit, or the Adafruit Discord, is where we do all of our CircuitPython development in the open and transparently. We believe that it provides a unique way for CircuitPython folks to connect, and you can join, as stated earlier, at adafru.it/discord. PyCon US 2021 was announced. It's going to be held online virtually. Planning PyCon US has taken us to a whole new world of virtual options. Our staff and volunteers are working hard to bring you a great event for you to enjoy, as well as multiple days of informative talks and tutorials, exciting news from our sponsors. You'll have ways to join in on open space conversations and even hallway track, and even a virtual 5K run. The conference will be held on the same dates originally scheduled, May 12th through 15th, 2021. Sprints will be held on the 16th through 18th. And more information and signups are available at us.pycon.org/2021. Our own Lady Ada is going to be keynoting the linux.conf.au this year, which is online, scheduled for January 23rd through 25th, 2021. In her keynote, Limor will discuss how Python is snaking its way into hardware, Linux, single-board computers, and more. And you can check out the schedule on their site as well. The 2020 State of the Octoverse has been released, which is GitHub's report there for the year. And Python has grown to the number 2 spot in languages used, up from the 4th in 2014. 2020 has been a year of extraordinary change, yet with the 60 million plus new repositories created in this past year, one thing has remained true: developers come together from all corners of the world to innovate, find connection, and solve problems. And there's a lot of information available on GitHub with 3 different detailed reports. So this is a preview of our CircuitPython weekly newsletter, Python on Microcontrollers. You can sign up at adafruitdaily.com. The archives are available at adafruitdaily.com/category/CircuitPython. To contribute your own news or project, you can edit next week's draft on GitHub and submit a pull request, or you can tag @an_engineer on Twitter or email anb@adafruit.com. And we're always looking for more stuff to add to the newsletter. So if you see anything or you have done anything Python on hardware related, please feel free to let us know so we can get it included. And that is community news. Next up is the state of CircuitPython libraries and Blinka. This is a statistical overview of the entire project. It gives us a look at the health of the project and a chance to look at the project by the numbers. We'll talk about the project overall, which includes CircuitPython, all of its libraries, and Blinka. And then we'll talk separately about the core, about the libraries, and about Blinka. So first up, overall, we had 22 pull requests merged by 15 authors. There are 4 names I haven't seen before: Wizard Tim, Slutsky, Scott A. Main, and M. Peckner are all new names. So thank you very much to all of our new contributors, and 9 reviewers. And we had 16 issues closed by 10 people and 20 opened by 17 people. So we are up a little bit on issues, but obviously if things need to be fixed or looked into, it's important that issues get opened. So that's also good to see, especially the high number of people that opened those issues. It's excellent to see that much involvement. I don't have a lot to say about everything overall. I know that we are progressing quickly. Deep sleep has been a really important thing that has been worked on that Scott will probably talk about more with the core. And I know there's been a lot of development on the libraries and on Blinka, so all of that is really good to see. And with that, I will turn it over to Scott to talk about the core.
Awesome. Thank you, Kattni. Okay, for the core, we had 3 pull requests merged from 4 different authors, thanks to our authors. We had 2 reviewers. As always, if folks want to get started on core development, reviewing is a great way to do it. It also unblocks the authors. We usually have more authors than reviewers, so we're always looking for reviewers. Pull request wise, we have 18 open pull requests, which is actually very, very good for us. I think last week or the week before, we were at 30 open pull requests. So good job, everybody, getting that number down, and let's keep pushing that number lower. We still do have 2 pull requests that have been open for over 100 days. So let's keep pushing to keep our open pull request count down. Issue-wise, we had 4 closed issues by 4 people and 13 open by 10 people. So we are up to 350 open issues. This is also something that we need to take a look at. I think this is a number that we will see grow over time, but we should make sure that we triage them all and kind of set expectations as to when they'll be done. And the way we do that is through designating milestones on issues. So the ones that we don't have triaged won't have an assigned milestone. So the count right now is 4. And then we have, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 issues for 6.x, including 5 open issues for 6.0x, which is issues folks have found was stable. So those ones we should probably take a look at sooner rather than later. Although I think we're also very focused on getting 6.1 stable as well. But that's where we are with pull requests and issues. Overall, I would just say, again, really good job on getting the open pull request count down. Dan's initial deep sleep support is in beta 2, which is awesome. And thank you, Dan, for doing the release. So expect to see more iteration on 6.1. And hopefully, I think our goal is kind of to have the ESP32S2 stable by 6.1. So we'll see how that goes. But please keep trying it and letting us know what issues you find. That's it for me.
All right, thanks, Scott. So next up, I will talk about the libraries. This covers all of the Adafruit CircuitPython libraries, which begin with Adafruit _CircuitPython_. 16 pull requests overall merged by 11 authors, including all the names I called off earlier, and one more that I don't recognize that I missed earlier, Adam Candy. And 8 different reviewers. So thank you to everybody who was involved in that. We had, of the merged pull requests, the oldest one was 17 days old, so it's good to see that we're still getting to older PRs, but most of them were 0 or 1 days old. So it's good to see that we're staying on top of things, leaving us with 37 open pull requests. We had 11 issues closed by 6 people and 6 opened by 6 people, leaving us with 241 open issues, 9 of which are good first issues. If you're looking to contribute to the CircuitPython project and you want to contribute to the Python side of things, circuitpython.org/contributing is a great place to start. You'll find a list of open pull requests, a list of open issues, and a list of library infrastructure issues. You can search the issues for good first issue if that's the level to which you want to begin, or if you're looking for something a little more complicated, you can search for bug or enhancement. We have a guide on contributing to CircuitPython with Git and GitHub, so don't let that intimidate you. And we're always available to answer questions. So we want to make sure that you are able to contribute in the way that works best for you. So if you are interested in that, check out that site and let us know if you have any issues. We had 2 new libraries in the last 7 days, MLX 90395 and fake requests, and a number of updated libraries, which I will not read off. And that's, in terms of the libraries overall, we're seeing a lot of important stuff going on. Currently, there's being a refactor is being done on some of the bigger libraries that were sort of all in one. And those bits of them are being factored out, which is good because a lot of that is being reused. for many of them. So it's good to take stuff that we're reusing and put it all into one place. And so that's excellent to see. So we're going to see, I think, in the next couple weeks or so, a flurry of new libraries that are functionality already existed, but are being moved around. So that's really great to see. And with that, I will turn it over to Melissa to talk about Blinka.
Hello, Blinka is our CircuitPython compatibility layer for Raspberry Pi and other single board computers, and actually it's supposed to work with MicroPython as well, so I should start mentioning that. There were 3 pull requests merged by 2 authors and 1 reviewer. There are currently 7 open pull requests, and there was 1 closed issue by 1 person and 1 open by 1 person, leaving a net of 47 open issues. And actually, some of those PRs were closed like this morning, so that'll probably be updated next week. And there were 1,984 PyPI downloads in the last week, and we currently have 60 boards. And that's it.
All right, thank you. And that is the state of CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. Next up is Hug Reports. Hug Reports is an opportunity to call folks out for being awesome. It gives us a chance to highlight the great things that other people are doing in the community, both online and offline. Whatever experiences you have that are positive, this is the place to let us know. This section is held as a round robin, where I will start, and then I will go down the list alphabetically and then loop back around, and that gives everybody who wants to a chance to participate. If you are lurking, make sure that you've let us know. If you're not in the list, I will assume that you're lurking and skip over you. If you are if you're missing the meeting and there's notes, I'll read them off as well as I get to them. And I think that about covers Hug Reports. So I will go ahead and get started. All right. Oh, geez. Hold on. I hit something and now Google is doing crazy things. Okay. All right, I'm back to where I was. Oh my gosh, I didn't know what the page was going to do. All right, so first up, a Hug Report to Dan and Jeff for a quick discussion about Magtag and a UF2 bootloader this morning. To Justin, who is one of our main Learn Dev guys, for kicking the Learn system when needed, and to Learn Dev for always being on top of fixing the issues I find. To Lady Ada for a quick PR review, and Maker Melissa for all her work on refactoring the Magtag and other portal libraries, and a group hug. Next I have some notes from Kevin Thomas, who says group hugs. Next up is Maker Melissa, who is currently
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Okay, no worries.
I was trying to hit the unmute the microphone and I muted my headphones.
Gotcha.
Okay. So first of all, I had a report for Mark Gambler for quickly reviewing my fake requests review, which was blocking me on some other things. I report to Foamy Guy for testing several of my portal-related PRs. A hug report to Scott Main for adding a bunch of improvements to Blinka here in this last week. A hug report to Anecdata and Dan Halbert for getting the battery voltage on the Magtag library more accurate, and a group hug to everyone else.
All right, excellent. Next up, I have some notes. First from Mark Gambler, which is a group hug. And then next up, I have some notes from Microdev, who says a hug report to everyone who read my hug reports and status updates during the meeting. And next up, I believe, is Scott.
Hello. First, a hug report for Benny EE for all the help with the ESP32S2, particularly debugging some of the one of the more hairier bugs I think we've ever seen with CircuitPython. We're all trying to figure out why we're seeing some hangs. So thanks to Benny for taking a deep look at that. Thank you to C. Walther for the supervisor allocation move PR that was actually merged. So thank you again, Christian. And a hug report to Professor Sparkles Timon for the Metro form factor Raspberry Pi compute module floorboard that he showed off at the Maker cast yesterday. It looks really cool. So those are my hug reports.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, I have notes from Christian Walther, who says a hug report to Dan and Jeff for finding ways to make space on flash-constrained boards to fit the new supervisor allocator in. And next up is Dan.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to thank Mike Causer for noticing that we had a bunch of expired Discord invite links in a bunch of various repos, and he took the step of submitting a lot of PRs to fix those, and most of them are merged in already. Thank you. Thanks to Scott for continuing sleep discussions, and then after I kind of burned out on it, he volunteered to take over, finishing off simulated deep sleep and then continuing with pin alarms on deep sleep. And I'll go work on some other stuff. And thanks to a bunch of people, Benny, EHH, Bruce S, Anecdata, and Jeff for looking at this very odd bug where if you import Wi-Fi I2C and I2C and then you control C, the whole thing hangs. This is really strange. I looked at it in one way, and I'll talk about that later, but we're still working on this very strange bug. Okay, thanks.
All right, next up I have notes from David Glaude, who says a hug report to Dan for Deep Sleep and 6.1 Beta 2 release, and to Jeff for the PyPedal for YouTube Learn Guide. And next up is Foamy Guy.
All right, thanks, Kenny. This week I got a hug for Dan and Scott and Microdev and anybody else. If I missed anybody who has worked on Deep Sleep, I know I'm about a week or so late on that, but I just had a chance to dive into it this past week. So huge thanks to everyone who's worked on that. To Melissa for working on refactoring the portal libraries so they can share some more code. To Lady Ada for a quick review and making some nice improvements to the Magtag progress displays that I was working on. And then last one for this week is Jeff for working, showed off on, I think it was Show and Tell last week maybe, showed off fun, awesome icons working within CircuitPython and made some updates in a couple libraries to support that. So thank you to Jeff for those.
All right, excellent, thank you. Next up is Hierophect.
Just a group hug for me this week, since I was off for a lot of it last week.
We love group hugs. Next up is Jeff.
Hello. I wanted to thank particularly Benny EHH and Bruce S for their fresh eyes on this ESP32S2 lockup bug. Even if there's no resolution yet, what you're doing is really helping because, you know, I looked into it and I got stuck down one narrow view of what it was, and that didn't get us there. So we need more people looking. Thanks to Dan for the deep sleep and the beta release, and of course a group hug.
All right, and finally I have notes from Jerry, who's lurking today, and says group hug, and that is hug reports. Next up is status updates. Status updates is an opportunity for all of us to sync up on what we've been up to since the last meeting and what we're going to do until the next meeting. It is also held as a round robin in the same way, so please take a couple minutes to let us know what you've been working on over the last week and what you will be working on over the next week. And if you're up to it, let us know something fun that you have been doing in your off time, since keeping up with things like that is super important lately. So with that, I will get started. Let's see. So last week, finished and published the Magtag Holiday LED Wreath Guide. It was a super simple one. Use the buttons on the Magtag to change LED animations on an LED strip. Not a lot going on there, but definitely shows how to use LED animations on the Magtag and how to use a NeoPixel strip along with the onboard NeoPixels. Something that I'm sure many people will want to do. I modified some basic cheer lights code to display an animation on the LEDs for each color instead of simply lighting them up, and then started a guide for that. Nearly finished that guide, but then Learn decided to be difficult and crop things improperly. And the only fix for that is to reboot Learn, which I don't have access to. So I ended up having to hold off on that until today, which is to say I finished the cheer lights guide and put that in moderation, even though that's in the wrong place here. And I fixed up some comments in the Itsy Bitsy BLE Infinity Cube code. I apparently filed an issue in Learn ages ago that the comments were incorrect because it was modified from code that used Circuit Playground Bluefruit versus the Adafruit mobile app. So the comments and print statements were incorrect because they were never updated. So I had filed an issue for that and never did anything with it, and it was pointed out today, so I fixed that up. So this week I am going to update the SGP30 guide to include the new STEMMA QT rev, and then create a new guide for the SGB40 because despite it being next gen, they changed everything. And I think that's all I've got going on for this week. No CircuitPython code for the SGP40 yet, so if you got one, don't get overly excited yet, because we haven't written the library for it. And that's what I've got going on. So next up I have notes from Kevin Thomas, who says, last week presented the Study Buddy Microbit Educational Framework at the Microbit Live Global Conference. There will be a video rebroadcast of the entire event at the link below later this week, and there is a YouTube link in the notes. Created the Talking Text-a-Bot for the Microbit V2 to help students learn, or help students use the buttons and logo of the device as they would use a phone keyboard to text communicate with the bot, in addition to instructions on how to build out a database of trigger words and responses. And this week, work on some foundational work for additional IoT CircuitPython tutorials to work on with FoamyGuy in the coming weeks. Next up is Maker Melissa.
Hello. Last week I finished getting the web serial ESP tool to successfully flash an image that is no more than 2 megabytes in size to the ESP32S2 boards, and I'll kind of get to why that limitation a little bit. I separated the fake request into its own repo. I added deep sleep and light sleep functions to the Magtag library. I improved the Magtag memory usage and speed by implementing font caching. I wrote Portal Base, which is the base library for the Portal style libraries, and used some of the latest stuff from the Magtag library in there. I refactored the Magtag library to make use of that Portal Base library, and I updated the Magtag guide to reflect additional Magtag dependencies. This week I'm going to work on the web serial ESP tool, and I need to add stub loading functionality so that we can flash images that are greater than 2 megabytes and do full chip erases, because it has to upload like a little bit of code and then have that code run on, because there's like 2 halves to the memory or something like that. I need to possibly refactor some more libraries to use Portal Base depending on how much time there is. And if there's time, I wanted to test out Blinka on MicroPython in its current state with the PyBoard. And that's it.
Excellent. All right, next up I have notes from MicroDev. Last week got OTA over the air update working. It's issue 3777 on CircuitPython. And this week, get back to I2C peripheral start on the ULP and touch alarms, and make OTA work. More OTA work. We'll probably make a PR soon. And next up is Scott.
Hello, I picked up Deep Sleep from Dan. I do have it working, but I only have it working on the Magtag, so I've got to make sure that all the other boards still compile. I should make a PR later today. I also found and fixed an issue with safe mode where if we have things that want to go into safe mode, they'll reset the board, but the board will rerun all the code. And so if your code is actually bad, you'll get in kind of a reset loop. So I've got an easy fix for that that I think I'll split out before I do the deep sleep part of things. And then my plan after I do that is to add pin alarm support. So the ability to wake up based on pin state will be next on my list. I almost added it to this current PR, but I think I was good enough to keep myself a bit focused on that. So mostly deep sleep this week, and then bug hunting as things come up as well.
All right, excellent. Next up, I have notes from Christian Walther. Who says, working on feature PRs enabled by the new supervisor allocator, set next code file, and get previous traceback, making them optional so they can be disabled on boards with too little flash, and examining their interactions with deep sleep. And next up is Dan.
Okay, scrolling backwards. So as everybody said, the Deep Sleep PR was merged last week, and then soon after that, I released 6.10 Beta 2, which included Deep Sleep and a whole bunch of other ESP32S2 stuff, new stuff and fixes. It's quite a lot of things. There were had some mysterious issues about the voltage monitoring on the Magtag, and I looked at that and determined that there was a simple calculation error in the library. That's fixed, and it looked like there might have been some issues with the analog in implementation, but that's not really true. It doesn't seem like, so it seems to be working out okay. It looked like there was 150 millivolt offset at one point, but I did some checking later in a different way, and I couldn't find that offset. So that issue is closed for now because it's good or good enough or something. And so what I'm going to be working on now is there's this very short deep sleep guide I'm working on with some simple examples. And the next thing I've been working on is that many people have asked for being able to save state during deep sleep. And all the chips that we support have some way of doing that, whether it's registers or some piece of RAM that can be maintained with using very little power. And so we'll add something that's kind of like microcontroller.nvm, which is in Flash, to save state, but it'll be actual RAM. So if you took away the power completely, it would go away. But if you're just deep sleeping, it'll still be there, and you can't wear it out or anything like that. So it'll probably be very similar to microcontroller.nvm. And so I'll be implementing that so you can save state during deep sleep, since your program exits completely, and otherwise you couldn't save any state. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you. Next up, I have some notes from David Glaude. Testing Cduino CircuitPython capable board, Xiao, and Wio terminal. Pi-hole made a DHCP mess of my network, power cycling all of my IoT devices. Working on Magtag Pi-hole status display with Magtag library plus progress bar. And found a way to make a bitmap file with MS Paint that crashes on disk bitmap, and filed an issue for that on the Magtag library. Next up is Foamy Guy.
All right, thanks, Kenny. For last week, I completed a commit hash argument for the Blinka CLI tool. So you can specify a particular commit hash and it will install that version for you out of the Amazon bucket if it finds it. I kind of dug into the Deep Sleep APIs and worked on converting over the progress display scripts to use those. I got out the LC 709203. I'm not sure if that's the right number, but it's the fuel gauge stemma breakout that lets you see how full a battery is and helps you charge it kind of in line with the rest of the circuit. Interested in perhaps using that along with a Magtag, although I figured out after the fact that the Magtag can read the battery voltage, so it kind of does some of that for you, so I may not end up needing it. But I did play with that. And then probably the most exciting news in my house over the weekend is we gained a new cat. Was hanging around outside, we think abandoned. So we took it in. We got a point.
Did Foamy Guy cut out for anyone else?
I think the cat took over. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Okay. Was 1000% certain it was me. Can someone tag him? Oh, wait, no, I can hear you now. You're typing.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think
worries.
my network's going up and down a little bit. But last couple things, I'll make them quick, is next week I want to work on a weather display that I'm going to stick on the fridge for the Magtag, use a sensor and also some API data, marry those together and get a good at-a-glance look. And then I want to keep working on a scheduling system for the Matrix portal, and I want to test out those 2 PRs that Jeff got in and play around with Font Awesome. I'm a big fan of Font Awesome, so I want to try those out this week. But that's all for me. Thank you.
I expect pictures of the cat.
Oh yeah, there's a couple in pet photos already, but yeah, there's definitely more coming for sure.
Okay. Next up is Higher Effect.
Okay. So this past week, I spent some time on the IMX PWM out module, which is still in progress, just because I had to get kind of spun back up on the IMX, but it's coming along. I worked this morning on fixing the pin resets for the ESP32S2, which I also have a fix in for, but I'm running into PSRAM crashes, so I don't know what's up with that. Still figuring that out. And then last week, unfortunately, I also had I spent a bunch of time on DMA for SPI, and unfortunately, that really has kind of fallen apart just because I can't get the DMA to spit out anything except garbage. So that was kind of a bummer, but got more stuff coming in this week. I'll be wrapping up PWM out. I'll be working a bit on the I2C repeated start issue that we found on SPI, or on STM32, I mean. And I'll be starting work on TCP server as soon as I'm done with PWM out. And that's it for me.
All right. Excellent. Next up is Jeff.
Hello. I just want to start off by saying to Foamy Guy, I'm glad you're excited about the font stuff. I haven't actually retested the font I was using with those changes because I shifted to just concentrating on performance and not fixing the bugs related to fonts that don't have alphabetical characters. So just keep that in mind. Still good to know, and it would still be great for you to give those changes a test, though. Anyway, last week, I did some work on the I2C problem on ESP32S2 with no success. I feel like I've reported that a number of times in a row. I did miscellaneous other stuff, but kind of the place where I had a good outcome and I'm happy about it is my guide, PyPedal for YouTube, was published on the Adafruit Learn system. And that is BLE, showing how to use BLE on a Raspberry Pi with Adafruit Blinka to start and stop a YouTube video as you use a stationary bike. So anyway, this week, and also this past weekend, I've been working on speeding up font loading for the Magtag. So the first thing I did was I kind of optimized the Python code for reading this plain text font format that we use and got a 40% speed improvement. What I'm doing today is I'm implementing a binary font format, and just before the meeting that started loading the font that I was testing with, but the benchmarking is still to do, and then that will kind of point in the direction of what to do next. And I've got about 2.5 other project guides in the works, so those will be coming out as they become ready. And, you know, as always, trying to pick up little items, do reviews on pull requests, and so forth.
All right. Excellent. Next up, I have notes from Jerry, who has nothing to report, sad face. I'm pretty sure Jerry has been super busy and is disappointed about a lack of CircuitPython involvement, if I remember from the last couple meetings. And that is status updates, which means it is time for In the Weeds. In the Weeds is an opportunity for more long-form discussions, possibly things that come out of status updates if they turn into a long-form discussion, or possibly something that you already had in your mind that you wanted to talk about in the meeting but didn't make sense for status updates. We have one topic, and I am going to turn it over to Higher Effect to talk about it.
Okay, so this is just something that kind of came up in the channel this week, or in the channel just this morning. I was talking to Joey, who created a system called Babel, which allows Unicode support on CircuitPython chips that happen to have a 2 megabyte flash chip. It's really pretty small, compact for getting the full Unicode character set. It's only 2 megabytes for the whole library, which is something of an achievement. But I was trying to figure out whether we would be able to squeeze that into the ESP32S2 flash. Normally, I would say that would seem a lot like we could, but I'm not really totally sure how much data the actual CircuitPython build takes on the ESP32 flash and how small, whether it could actually be reduced in size. Right now, it's not fitting, and I'm trying to figure out whether it's even feasible to try and make it fit, or whether it would really require another external flash chip somehow.
You need a larger flash chip. Like the ESP32S2 build itself is over a megabyte, and we have two of those for OTA, and I don't want to not do that because people are going to expect it. And then
do for OTA as in over-the-air updates.
Correct. Yeah. And the way that works is you have two spots for it in case it doesn't work.
Right. So is it there's no space there for a you don't think it would be a good idea to just have a build setting that could have a non-OTA build option?
No, I think what you should do is just use a bigger flash. If you have a board that needs it, like the Feather S2 has a 16 megabyte flash on it, and you'll be fine. The only problem is that
I was hoping to get it on the Magtag.
Right, the modules have 4 generally.
Right.
I would rather have OTA be something that's consistently available for everyone. And even if you've managed to fit the 2 megabytes in there, you're not going to have much room for the file system then either.
Right.
Because there's also like 256K for the UF2 bootloader, and then there's 64K at the start for all of the ESP IDF things too. So like the file system already is just under a megabyte. So OTA I think is more important than having a larger file system that could have this.
Okay.
I was surprised too. Like I started adding the network stuff, and like it was originally configured to be 512K, and then the moment I added the network stuff, it just blew up. And so I'm also very wary of like trying to shrink it down at all, because like we're adding more things, and I have no idea how big those things are going to be.
Gotcha.
So that's why I bias towards having those OTA sections be pretty large.
Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of supporting more flash externally, so within the modules, there's just a flash chip in there, presumably. Do we support additional flash chips? Like, can we support like rigging up an extra flash chip, or are there any obstacles to that?
I don't know of any boards that have 2 flash chips. I think what I would suggest is actually going SD card.
Okay.
If you want bulk flash storage, like SD cards are the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it would be, yeah, just extending either have a bigger flash chip.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, right. So either design your own non-module ESP32 system with a larger flash chip, or use SD.
Right.
Okay.
And this is all, of course, for the default. So if you want to do it differently for a specific use, you can. But I wouldn't change the default CircuitPython setup.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good to know. Thanks for the info.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was smaller, but
No, it's cool. I mean, Unicode. I mean, it's like for most, obviously, for almost any CircuitPython board, getting Babel into it is not an easy task. And I just, I saw the 4 megabytes and I was like, we ought to be able to fit it in there. And then I was like, oh wow, yeah, maybe we can. So
networking is complicated.
Right.
Turns out.
So a shame because the Magtag, I don't think there's any way to get an SD card to connect to the Magtag. So that might be off the table for Unicode. But
yeah, maybe it's worth I could mention a little more that because she's thinking about additional mag tags, kind of the same way that like there's multiple Pi portals, and so maybe an SD card is something we could throw on a different sized one.
Yeah, an SD card Magtag. I think we can easily put Babel. I think that Joey has even just a system for Babel that just is designed for SD card use. So yeah, either a Magtag that uses that or a Magtag that's designed, like the ESP Feather and has like a 16 gigabyte, flash chip instead of the 4s that come with the modules.
Right, like you could just use a Feather S2 and an E-Ink Featherwing. That would work just fine.
Right, exactly. That would be fine too. Okay, cool.
But yeah, I don't know of any modules that'll be bigger than 4.
Yeah, well,
so 4 is going to be most common, I think.
I'll think about just moving, maybe trying to put it just like exactly what you said, the E-Ink Featherwing and a Feather S2, and just do that in the meantime. And then I don't know, maybe a future Magtag could think about that.
I do wonder as well, like, could you split the Babel data up by language and then fit a particular language?
You might be able to. I would have to ask Joey, but I don't know how helpful it would be because, the language that's really going to be the big constraining ones. Well, I guess maybe getting rid of Korean versus because Chinese and Japanese are kind of a group unit. Getting Korean might, Korean and Chinese, Japanese, those are exclusive. So you could pick one or the other. But I think that even in those cases, he has like a slimmed down version that's like, that doesn't have any of the CJK, and that's like 300 and something kilobytes. So it's still not small.
Right, but it would fit in the file system for the 4 meg then.
Right, yeah, that's without CJK, so that's no Japanese, no Chinese, and no Korean. Picking between Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, I don't know. I'd have to ask Joey about the feasibility of that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the breakdown is between those languages too. I imagine obviously Chinese is going to be the biggest, and then I don't know if you can have just a subset of Chinese for use with Japanese. I don't know. I'd have to ask.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I think we're good. That was our only in the weeds topic, so I will go ahead and wrap this up. This has been the CircuitPython Weekly for December 7th, 2020. Again, this is our time of the week to talk about all things CircuitPython. Thank you to everyone who participated. If you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. The video of this meeting will be released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast will be available on major podcast services. It will also be featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter, which you can visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe. The next meeting will be held as usual, I believe, next Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Bear in mind, we do have one change upcoming. I don't have the calendar in front of me. We're skipping the Monday between Christmas and New Year's this year. So there won't be a switched up meeting. December 28th. Thank you, Jeff. No meeting. But otherwise, meetings are being held at the normal times. This meeting is held on the Adafruit Discord, which you can join by going to adafru.it/discord. And to be notified about the meeting or any changes to the time of day, you can be added to the Circuit Pythonistas role. And we hope to see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.